Back in the day when I started into that whole arena of archery, it was very cliquey. There was just like that group of guys, and they were over the corner and they were really good at it. Being a total novice, I didn't know where to go and how to do it. Well, that guy's on staff and this one is, and you'd go and approach them. And they were very standoffish. This is our little thing, And then I got some opportunities to be shooting through the local archery store, compound doctor, and I got to represent different companies. And one of the things that I had told myself is that I want to be approachable. I want to pass on this fun, this absolute blissful endeavor onto anyone who has any interest in it at all. And that's a premise that has stuck, with me to present day. I don't want to hinder anybody. I want everybody to be out there and enjoying what I enjoy.
You've definitely broken the mold. Part of, the premise of our podcast and the conversations that you have at the range, I think of you and, a handful of others in those situations, right? Because we might be at a 3D shoot or something like that, but there's always somebody there that you're willing to answer questions. You're not the kind of guy that's just like out there giving unsolicited advice either. Like the advice that you're giving is sound. And even if you can't help, correct whatever it is they got going on, at least you're there with your positivity and you're able to kind of uplift them a little bit too. So that I've always really appreciated about you, and you've always set a really good example for how to be a good pro staffer. Welcome to the Range Podcast. I'm Ricky Bruley, and with me is Jake Hollywood Iverson. Join us at the archery range, where we'll tell stories from the hunt, discuss technical bow shooting tactics and gear, and pick the brains of some of the most successful people to ever shoot a bow. Whether you're about to shoot that X for the win or send an arrow at a trophy buck, this podcast is for you. The Range Podcast is brought to you by Vapor Trail Archery, makers of the best bowstrings money can buy, originators of limb-driven arrow rest technology, and innovators of Stokerized stabilizer systems. Welcome to the range, everybody. I'm Ricky Bruley, and I am here in the Vapor Trail studio. Super excited today to talk to a good friend of mine who I've known for as long as I've been at Vapor Trail. He's had numerous contributions to our product lines as far as innovations, ideas, things that we can do to improve our products. He's been a part of our promotional staff for well over a decade, probably maybe even two, who knows. He was always really good buddies with the former CEO and president of the company, Jared Fondy. And just, again, super proud and happy to have him as a part of our team. And I'm really excited to talk to him today. We've been good friends for a long time, been to many ATA shows and told a lot of hunting stories, hanging out, that kind of stuff. So I'm proud to introduce Mr. Frank Welsch. How are you doing, man?
We're doing. Well, thank you for that. It's a very gracious introduction.
Yeah.
Kind of funny, though, how time flies and man, you just start to think about all the years that have gone by and all the situations that we've been in,
right.
and all the people that we've talked to over the years. Mm-hmm. And there's hunting stories. There's just so much stuff. Mm-hmm. So how have you been? You've been keeping sane and keeping up with everything?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's been wild. Another busy season is, we're on the, just getting over the hump here from another busy season. This would be my 17th busy season here at Vapor Trail, and it never gets any easier. I can tell you that, which is good, right? Because that means we're growing. And, on top of that with, trying to keep the podcast rolling, and then now I've got a family as well. So trying to keep up on that and have a good, work-life balance and all that is rather challenging, but also lots of joy in that as well. So yeah, man, things are good.
That's good. Yeah. Life definitely keeps moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My whole, just to start off with, is my whole hunting journey kind of began when I was 6. My dad is an avid houndsman. He's now 84, and he's slowed down. He's down to his last dog, Faith. She's 14, and but my dad still gets out with some buddies up in Wisconsin, and he goes over and listens to their dogs. So that's always been kind of a thing for my father. Is he's been a houndsman. I have a older brother, Chris, and he's into waterfowl. And then I kind of gravitated toward archery and, kind of the big game thing, you
Oh,
know. So I started when I was 6, and and that's running around in the middle of darkness because I was coon hunting. So my father did a lot of coon hunting, did a lot of coyote hunting, chased bobcat, mountain lion, and bear over the years.
hmm.
And so my whole introduction to the outdoors began when I was 6 years old,
Wow.
and I'll be 56 coming up
Oh
in
man.
March.
50
So I mean,
years.
it's kind of yeah, 50 years
50
of
years.
outdoor exposure.
That's
But
amazing.
then, yeah, it's kind of crazy, and my whole really my archery didn't. I remember being like a teenager, and I had a recurve, and it was I had a couple cousins that were up, and I've got a ton of gal cousins, and so we were running around, and I seen a rabbit, and I hadn't even really shot the bow much, and I
Mm.
shot the rabbit, and it was a double lung, which was
Hmm.
great because it stuck there, and of course, as I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. So, of course, cleaned it and stuff, and then we ate that at a later date. And then I kind of got away from it because you're getting into being a teenager, and my dad wasn't an avid archer, so he was really into firearms, and he built rifles, and we had a 100-yard shooting range in the backyard,
Hmm.
and so I did a lot of hand loading and stuff as a kid. So I had a lot of rifle exposure,
Yeah. Okay.
which is pretty cool. So I got to go out west and harvest prairie dogs, and of course I harvested coyotes and raccoon and all that stuff. I mean, my first official harvest was when I was 8, and it was with a side by side 410, Fox side by side
Mm.
410. It was a youth model that my dad had gotten together, and it was a squirrel. So that
Mm.
was that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's just kind of it's interesting. You get that exposure. I mean, my dad's definitely his houndsman ability is. I mean, he's been featured in articles in Full Cry magazine, and he knew a lot of the founding fathers for the Walker breed line
Mm.
in central United States, and which was pretty neat. So, and that's one thing I haven't had a lot of exposure to, because as I became a teenager, and then I went off to college. I got to go to college for 1 year. It's kind of expensive, so I did that. So I kind of left it, but then did go on some hunts over the years with my father.
Mm.
That encompassed going out to Montana and doing the mountain lion thing and getting that exposure, which was really cool.
Mm. Yeah.
uh, yeah, so and then I got back into archery. Probably I was in my 20s, so I had kind of a late start to that, and it
Hmm.
was kind of interesting too with um, back in the day, when I started into that whole arena of archery, it was very clicky. It was
Oh.
just like there was that group of guys, and they were over the corner, and they were really good at it. And then it kind of evolved into me getting engrossed in it because that's kind of how I am. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in.
And
And
that was when you were in your 20s.
yeah, yeah. So I was like early 20s.
So was the when you were saying clicky, was it just like a group of guys that you would run into like at the local outdoor store, or was it like a
Yeah,
place you worked, or
yeah. It was at pro shops and
okay.
and even like when I started, I wanted to, interested in 3D and all that fun stuff. And I had zero knowledge. I had a neighbor, Jim Larson. He had a Fred Bear whitetail hunter bow, and he let me use that, which it was really interesting. That bow, I could not get that thing to shoot for diddly. It's like 10 to 15 yards is on, but then 20 there was this I just had some weird movement with it, but then I'd go out to 30 and everything would be back in there. And of course, being a total novice, I didn't know where to go and how to do it. That's when I started approaching people and trying to get to know. And then I started hearing about, well, that guy's on staff and this one is, and you'd go and approach them and they were very standoffish. It was just kind of like, this is our little thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, segueing to like my introduction to pro staff, which was kind of interesting. So I started getting more engrossed with it, and I've got to know a good bunch of guys, and then that came into some opportunities with the local pro shops because I was frequenting those pro shops a lot.
We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Ricky Bruley here, Vapor Trail. We're really excited about some new features that we've just added to the Gen Integrate X limb driver aero rest. Previous model that we had the micro adjust knob that stuck out, and so it made it difficult to remove these one-piece low pro quiver from Matthews. We've eliminated that knob, and now it's an Allen key that you would use to make that adjustment. We thinned up the area here where the activation cord is as well. We really squeezed it in about 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit lower profile, so now you don't have any issues with the low profile quiver. Comes off nice and easy. And you also have, of course, the added feature of the integrated mounting system, so you can mount the aero rest right to the rail on the riser of the bow. Additional features include new markings that differentiate your locking screws from your windage and elevation screws. All Vapor Trail aero rests have a free-floating head, providing more forgiveness and greater downrange accuracy. No need for a bow press. Simply tie the activation cord to the limb and say goodbye to interference with cam timing caused by cable-driven aero rests. The new and improved GI8X is available and ready to ship. Trust the originators of limb-driven technology and head over to our website at vaportrailarchery.com or stop into your local archery pro shop to get yours today.
One guy I met was Dan Kruger, and his then learning a lot from not only Dan, but then his father, Wayne. And also Joe Kruger. And now to this day, I hunt with them. We hunt in Illinois every single year. I've been going down there since the late 90s, probably 98, I believe. So, and that is, if anybody ever gets any opportunity and you can hunt Illinois during the rut, it is absolutely phenomenal. It is, I look so forward to that every single year because it is just a hoot. And but at that time, I was kind of, watching those guys shoot, because I still hadn't really found my niche and found how to do this.
Yeah.
So I just watched, Wayne was very methodical, and he was actually very good. He was top ranked in the state and in Wisconsin, and both Danny and Joey and all that too was, back in the day, there was a crew of like 20 guys that when they would show up to a shoot, people were just like, oh, great. So there was Sunrise Sporting Goods, and then that was the Compound Doctor down in Minnesota. And we had got a really good bunch, but it was methodical of watching Wayne, how he approached the line, how he set himself, how he grabbed his arrow, how he knocked his arrow. Archery is repetition. You have to micromanage your movement and process. You want it repeatable, because that's the whole thing. It's you repeat that shot. So it was fun to watch someone who was very methodical.
Yeah.
So, and then that translated over into me starting to figure that stuff out. It's just not flinging an arrow. There's a whole process to it.
Right.
But yeah, so it was just really cool. And as then I started, harvesting some animals with bow and definitely the magical flight of the arrow. That's a whole thing. Once you get involved with it, it gets in your blood, gets under your skin, and then you can't shake it for nothing. So it's always going to be with you.
Right.
So yeah, so that just kind of brings me into, doing some hunting and getting more involved, and kind of, then I got some opportunities to be shooting through the local archery store, compound doctor, and I got to represent different companies. And one of the things that I told myself is that I want to be approachable. I want to pass on this fun, this absolute, blissful endeavor onto anyone who has any interest in it at all. And that's a premise that has stuck, with me to present day. I definitely, if anybody out there, I mean, you're going to social media, it's just Frank Welsh. You can see me on Instagram. You can see me on Facebook. You can IM me. Any questions that you have, anything about equipment. It's just, I don't want to hinder anybody. I want everybody to be out there and enjoying what I enjoy, because it's just, and it's not just the harvest. I love the whole process of, you know, doing 3Ds and stuff. I did a lot of tournament stuff throughout the years, and all of that was just for me to be a better shot, so I could be ethical in the process of sending an arrow and into an animal. So that's why, did all that and still try to do.
Yeah, and I would say that you've definitely broken the mold. There's still a lot of people like that. A lot of pros and stuff that don't really give you the time of day. And in some situations, I've been to some shoots and things like that, and I get it, right? Like they don't want to get in their head or what. They're very focused, and so they're doing their thing. But part of the premise of our podcast and the conversations that you have at the range. I think of you and, a handful of others in those situations, right? Because we might be at a 3D shoot or something like that, but there's always somebody there that you're willing to answer questions if you're, you know what I mean? And you're not the kind of guy that's just like out there giving unsolicited advice either. Like the advice that you're giving is sound. And, if you see somebody struggling, you're always there to, either, even if you can't help, correct whatever it is they got going on, at least you're there with your positivity and you're able to kind of uplift them a little bit too. So that I've always really appreciated about you, and you've always set a really good example for how to be a good pro staffer. And so I mean, for anybody who's out there that has any interest in that, Frank's social media page is definitely a place to go and see how it should be done.
Well, you're way too kind, but I guess that's, I mean, you're touching on something that, because I'll get a few people that reach out, throughout the year and just ask, like, well, how do I become on a field staff or a pro staff, or how do I represent a company? How should I approach that? And I'm like, this is a really good question, and I'm glad you're asking that. I think there's a misconception of, like, you're just getting free stuff.
Right.
You should never approach any company without you fully believing in it.
Right.
In the company. I mean, it's just, I've met a lot of people over the years that's their thing. They just hop around and they're in it for the free stuff and for that particular moment in time. I mean, I'm very proud to say, I mean, I remember Jared working out of his home, and I met him. I think it was at the Compound Doctor, and this was in the late 80s, early 90s. It was founded in 93. So, I mean, I've known, Jared, since the very start, and, having that introduction to jump on field staff and having that interaction with a person who was so knowledgeable and, talk about, precise and, thinking and analytical and really trying to build something that's absolutely perfect for the end user, for anybody who's buying the product. I mean, we had lots of discussions in the early start of things, and which was really cool. I mean, it's weird in the moment. You're not thinking like, 20 years from now or 30 years from now, I'll be reflecting on, wow, I guess I did see this from the very beginning. But I think those connections that I had, because that's one thing. In the early days, all of the companies that I was affiliated with and still affiliated with some of them is that I knew the owners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got to, I'd call them from the blind or from the stand and say, I'm out here and here's some examples of what I'm seeing, and give them some real time input. And you as a staffer, and again, just kind of circling back to the whole, what's expected. It's like you need to believe in the product, and you need to ask, what are the guidelines? What are you looking for? And then try to exceed those guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Try to actually go above and beyond. It's actually so awesome now with social media because you can post and you can do things real time, and then the company can see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, I mean, it's very trackable. So, if you're lucky enough to get on a field staff, make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to and even take it to another level.
Right.
And that's where people start to shy away and they're like, well, I don't have the time. It's like, well, if you got to, if they're asking for, people to come and help at a booth, or, there's a like a lot of the pro shops, they'll just have like customer appreciation stuff. Even if they don't ask for that, go, show some initiative, get out there, go to, if you know, like A1 Archery or Archery Country or whatever, where
Yeah.
all these different pro shops, like in Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
just give examples there.
Right.
Even though you don't have an official, booth there, but you can go there. You can ask the owner, like, hey, is it cool that I come here and help you interact with customers and also help promote some of the stuff that I believe in?
Yeah.
And they're not going to say no. They can always use extra bodies there, and then
Right.
you can post it, and Ricky, you're the you're the man now with the pro staff stuff. So then that's immediately you're going, oh, all right. So they're doing stuff, or I didn't even think that there was anything going on, because it's hard to know what each pro shop is doing
Mm-hmm.
because they just do it on the fly, and it's all situational too. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this is the time of year. The rut's coming up in November, and things are going to really start getting crazy for all the shops. So they might all have something going on the same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to flex and be everywhere.
Right.
But you as a pro staffer can be engaged in what the company is doing.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's not any company that's going to be discouraged and be mad, like, oh, why are they calling me? And,
Right.
of course they're going to want that presence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so again, believing in the product, don't expect anything for free. I mean, you should already have knowledge of the product before you even contact, buy the stuff, you use it for a couple years. And then if it's something you really like, then you go for it. And then it'll be even cooler too. Like you'll be able to get involved with product development and get asked to, you get kind of insider trade information at times, which is really fun, because you get to see what's coming out because you're hearing feedback from other users, other archery peeps out there, like, oh, I wish they would do this. I wish they would do that. And you just kind of like smile and it's like, things are happening, but I can't say nothing right now.
Yeah.
So, in the back of your head, that's what you're doing. It's like, we're here, we hear you. And that's what you're spokesman for the company, but you are helping develop the product.
Yeah. And I want to go back to a little bit about, you had mentioned a misconception, right? And so another one is, and I get applications all the time where guys are like, yeah, I shot this deer and this animal and that animal, and those are great. Don't get me wrong. So keep those coming. But what's important mostly, and unfortunately in this day and age, a social media presence is a given. I know there's some people that choose not to go onto social media, and I respect that. But that's where you can have the biggest impact as a pro staffer. I guess it depends, because I still have, we've got a handful of guys on staff that have been on for for as long as I've been with Vapor Trail. And I know these guys are out in the community. I know that they're at the range. I know that they're talking to people. They may not have a social media presence, but I know they're getting out there. And the reason I know that is because I have customers come my way and say, oh, hey, I was talking to so-and-so at this shoot or that, or, because I always tell them, make sure you let them know that if they come to us for something, that they give you a shout out so that we know. But that's a big thing. You don't necessarily have to be out there killing everything or, winning a bunch of tournaments. You just have to be out there, and you have to be shooting the product and promoting the product, representing yourself in a positive way. And again, like answering questions, but then also asking questions. If you don't know something, you never want to tell somebody something you don't know. And so it's one of those things where I always tell guys like, hey, if you're not sure about it, it's okay for you to say, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me find out. And then because I think people respect that. I think they really would. And some people, I think, get a little hung up on, I don't know if it's pride or whatever, but they just get nervous about, oh, well, I'm on a promotional staff, but maybe, it might be embarrassing because I don't know a very specific detail about a product. And so again, in this industry, and what I've found out is that there will be guys that'll actually test you. I learned that in working in pro shops all the time. Guys will ask you questions just to see what you know, to see if you qualify to work on their bow or something like that. And there's nothing worse than misleading somebody and telling them some information that you don't know about.
Yeah. No, I think what you were saying just prior to that is like, yeah, it's great that you can harvest all these animals, like you were saying, but I mean, like I've been fortunate enough to travel around the country and out to New Zealand and stuff too. Very fortunate, and I try to get like if I pull my bow out, when I'm talking to people, if I'm in I stop at a gas station or I'm running and getting something, and because I've got Vapor Trail stuff. I mean, the Quit Your Crying on the back people, I get more stuff just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They comment on that. Where is that from? What does that mean? And so then I stop and I explain, here's the deal. It's here's what it is, this, that, and the other. But like, especially on the hunts, when I have my bow with me, I'll take it out. I will hand it to them. And if we're in a situation where they can shoot the bow and it fits them, because then I'll explain, because if, some people don't know that there's what's draw length and what's poundage and what's let off and, is this important or not? And it's, so we go through that whole thing. So if they're able to shoot, I let them shoot my stuff. Here, I'll put it in your hands, which a lot of people are totally shocked, because that is, your bow is your baby.
Yeah.
Get it dialed in, as well as I do. You don't want people fiddling with it,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some tutelage, you want to get it in their hands. You want to show them the stuff. I'll have just kind of like miscellaneous products. I have, if anything were to fail, I've got backup stuff, or I have it for other people on the trip. So I have samples basically that I can take out and, here it is, and this is what it is. And go through the whole spiel of what I know. And again, what you're saying, never, and I've done that. I've tested people.
Oh yeah.
I've gone in pro shops, but the thing is, it's not like I'm going to be mean about it.
Yeah.
I'll just then say, hey, well, really, here's how this, works. Mm-hmm. And here's really where the adjustments are and this, that, and the other. And I'll help educate them so that they can learn something from it. Cause it's not like I want to scold them for that, but I've seen other people do that, and that's not, that's just not cool. So, at least help educate them so that they can, use that product proficiently and to its ability, and not actually either underusing the product or overusing it. I mean, there's tolerances to everything. That's torquing nuts and bolts down. I mean, on the rest, we know people, just put the old monkey grip to it and try to see if I can shear the bolt all the way through the other. It's like, well, nothing's made for that.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't know, that's fine. I've, my former career was I worked 33 years in the health industry, and I ended up being a project manager, and there's a lot of moving parts on that. So one of my big things is like, you know what? I don't know, but I know who to contact and I'll get back to you with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now even in the field, if I, there's like, hey, I'm a social media or, how can I get a hold of you?
Mm-hmm.
I'll text you or whatever you want once I know.
Yeah.
Because out west, out in Nebraska, I used to go out there a lot. And, out in Illinois and out in other places. I mean, I'm always happy to answer any question. You can IM me. I mean, I love this time of year. Um, I'm kind of in a situation. I had a bad fall here 3 years ago, and we're going to have another podcast on all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I, shattered my calcaneus, and I've had 4 surgeries in 3 years, 3.5. So, and I'm actually just mending from it. I just had mine on my fourth surgery on August 7th. So, and that is kind of a tree stand related deal. So, but we'll get into all of that at a later date, which kind of a bummer. So now I basically I put fires out. I have people contacting me anyways because I still want to be involved.
Yeah.
Boys are no, they'll be in Illinois. I'll be pestering them every single day. How's it going? I see your weather conditions are this way. How about are you down in this stand or have you thought about doing this? Because and that's the thing too. I want everybody to be successful because anybody who puts effort into being the best that they can be at anything, I
Mm-hmm.
want to help them.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to not know. I mean, there's so much information out there now. It's at your fingertips. Where back in the day, you really had to search. I mean, I drove for miles just to talk to people
Yeah.
to figure things out. So this is really nice. I mean, so as a pro staffer, you can do a lot of cool stuff. The more you put yourself out there, that it's people are going to recognize it. People are going to take notice
Yeah.
and want to be. They'll want you. They'll seek you out. You know, and yeah. So just getting back to that whole thing is, you know, you may not know the product, but you can always say, hey, you know what? And people are going to respect you. I'll find out. I'll let you know. Or you know what? You can go to their website and it's all explained out there. So I don't want to speak out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what's nice too is, if you just give them the link or it's like, here, I'll send it to you because I have stuff saved on my phone so I can just do it right away.
Yeah.
Um, that'll help bail you out too. I
For
mean,
sure.
it's always good to take a refresher course too. And as a pro staffer, I mean, try to know the product. If I'm sure they could, reach out to you and you give them a spiel or someone
Mm-hmm.
within the organization, or just go to the website,
Yeah.
that type of stuff, or reach out to other pro staffers. But you got to show initiative. That's
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of just circling all back to, what a pro staffing environment is. So it's like you got to be present. If you can go to shoots or be involved, you just have to be involved, and you got to be able to show that you're doing something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fair because yeah, if you can get a deal on some equipment as a field staffer, I mean that's fantastic. It'll help you out,
Yeah.
and then also too, it's pretty cool to get in the evolution of different things. I've got some of the early stuff for
Oh yeah.
rest development, limb driven stuff and get it in
There
there.
you go. Yeah. Now is that an old Tiger Tough that was converted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
retrofitted.
Yeah.
So that's going to
Mm-hmm.
the up position before that even happened. And then we've got even on a,
Oh yeah. That's the Bowtech specific one, isn't it?
yeah, I believe so.
From back in the early 2000s. Some relics. Frank's got some
Yeah,
relics there.
I've got some stuff, and and it's pretty cool. I mean, I've been able to, like with black gold, the rear view sight that they had on there. I developed that,
Yeah.
with Ben to get that going. S4 Gear when they were doing some
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah, the bino
Yeah,
harness.
I got involved with that, and because I'm kind of a geeky guy too, so my brain is always trying to think of better solutions for
Mm-hmm.
things. You know that, Rick. I mean, we've
Oh yeah.
talked over the years just to kind of, how can we make this better? Where is this failing, or what are the next steps?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Product always evolves, and it's kind of cool to brainstorm with other guys that are involved with that and are trying to to get that journey, continued, because there's really never an end to it.
Yeah, and you've always
So,
been a great source for, if we're having a challenge or something that we can't quite, figure out. We had a conversation when you were here for the Pro Shop grand opening, and between me and you and Glenn having conversations, and then kind of down the road while I was, having, conversations with Rory, that's what's developed our our new version of our quick disconnect for Stokerized, which still is not available yet. We're still working on it. We just want to make sure we work out all the kinks, but it's those conversations that made it what it is. And so I also wanted, before we go too far, I wanted to go back a little bit again and talk about the pro staff stuff. And this isn't to say that I was like ever the perfect pro staffer, but I was with Bowtech for quite some time, and I always kind of tried to emulate what I did off of what you did. And I remember always just kind of looking at it like as if it was a job, in a way, where treating it the same way, where like, you always want to kind of go above and beyond. You want to kind of work your way up. And I think it's important to kind of start at a point, and work your way up to something. Cause I get this a lot where, with the influx of influencers now that are out there, I get like probably one request a week, and a lot of them are just going straight to money. And I'm like, okay, look at their social media presence, and they, and one misconception too is like, I don't care if you have 30,000 followers, if only 100 of those followers engage with your content, you have 100 followers, not 30,000 followers. So that's one thing that I pay attention to. And you don't necessarily, just because you have a lot of followers doesn't make you a quality candidate for, to represent our product, especially if, like you said before, you're not currently shooting our product. You're out there searching for a way to survive with your shooting abilities. But then I'll usually kind of spin it and say, hey, it's great. Your content is awesome. But let's kind of, let's back it up a little bit, and let's start here. Like, how about I get you some product, and, we're going to run a discount on it. It's not going to be free, but we'll get you a discount on the product. You can use it, see what you think about it. We'll see what kind of content you create with it, that sort of thing. And a lot of times then it's either crickets chirping because because they feel like their value is higher than that. And that's okay. But again, it's like baby steps, right? Like you don't just go to a company and, some people become a CEO, but that's probably because they worked their way up in a previous company. So you start kind of small and you work your way up. I want people to prove themselves. And, and sometimes that doesn't take long. I've got some, staffers that have been on for half a season, and they've already put out more content than some guys would do in 5 years, and so I'm real quick to shift them and put them in a position, where now, they're more or less earning, the product, but it's not just that. It's representing the product, understanding it, taking the initiative to know how the product works, and never misleading anybody. So
absolutely. Well, and I think that's a very good thing to bring up, is that you have to be in it for the right reasons. This is a passion. The outdoors, is a passion for me, and I know it is for you.
Yeah.
There's people you meet, and you understand their vibe, and and good fits. And that's things that in the past with Jared, we had people that would come up to the booth and stuff. And I remember, I'm not going to mention who it was, but
I know who you're going to talk about here.
I looked at Jared once this individual walked away, and I said, if you put him on staff, I am so gone. I just that encounter, and it proved out over the years that, he was kind of a flash in the pan. I think he may be doing some guiding out in California. So, which is fine. But it's just, I mean, the misinformation that one individual, was talking about while I looked at Jared looked at me, and I just said that. He just started laughing so hard. I mean, it was fun to get Jared to break character a little bit
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at these things. But again, you just have to be in it because I don't look at it like I'm going to get money. I've never wanted money. If anything, if I got product, that was it. I refused a few times with even helping companies out, just even website stuff and just asking for information. What do you think, Frank? And I've refused it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I don't need compensation. So I mean, I've always I've been a consultant in the outdoor industry,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with not having a consultant business with it.
Right.
But I think it helped, with how I am. My 33 years in the healthcare industry and doing project management and understanding all the moving pieces that this kind of segued and into helping companies out. I mean, just like clam packaging. When you guys were trying to get your first clam packaging stuff,
Yeah.
and I mean, people don't understand how hard that is. How is this going to look on the shelf, and how many can we stack, in on the displays, and will it be goofy tipped, and So I remember you guys going through some of that, and looking at some of it, and giving a little bit of feedback
Mm-hmm.
there. But it's got to be in your blood, and you got to keep. It's that whole like your passion and your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know about that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this would be the greatest thing. So you don't want it to be a job, but yet you want it to be the passion, and you want to be engaged in it
Yeah.
because you want to give this to other people.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to have the best outdoor experience with their equipment because everybody's dollar counts,
Right.
and you just try to put the best product out there.
Yeah, and I never wanted to. I always wanted to represent. You know what I mean? So anytime there was a
Oh, you
request
did.
to maybe work a Cabela's event or something like that, like I couldn't do them all, but I would try to do as many as I could. And then I got to a point where I was simply just too busy, and I just reached out and said, I don't think I can effectively represent the company anymore. I was still shooting the product, but it was like I just
Right.
don't. I'm too busy right now, and I don't want to take advantage. And despite that, they kept me on, for the next
Mhm.
couple of years,
Yeah.
because then they moved to a 3-year contract. But then 2 years in, then they started having a greater focus on, target archers and youth archers. And so then, and again, I wasn't doing I wasn't doing what a pro staffer should do. And,
Mhm.
so I think, and then they were just like, okay, we want to make some room for some up and comers. And so we regret to inform
Mhm.
you. And I was like, no, that's great because, I was already kind of going down that road anyways. If I can't represent the company the way that I feel they deserve, then I don't want to, I don't want to do it. So,
Right.
but yeah, and to your point, when you said, I treat it like a job in the sense that, I want to do the best that I can do, but I don't want it to be the kind of job where it's like stressful and there's anxiety involved, or
Yeah.
there's anything where, it feels like, my bucket's no longer full, right? Like you still wanna,
Mhm.
it's gotta be fun. And that's the big part about it. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to
Absolutely.
say like treat it like a job in that respect, but
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's where, when it's money and it's your livelihood, then that's where it can get, now you have to, it just puts a different, I guess it puts stress on it,
Hmm.
which it should. Not hunting, not the outdoors, not something that you love to go, out in the northern part of Minnesota and the Boundary Waters and all that. You want to just like, oh, I want to do this. Ooh, this would be really cool. And oh, I got an idea.
Right.
That's the type of stuff. And that's even like with my state that I'm in right now. I know that I've wanted to do so much more, and I'm going to figure some things out up until I'm really being able to, be an outdoor presence. Just to be able to drive anywhere. I can't even drive right now. So, but I want to be more engaged in what I am. It's killing me not being able to interact with people and be that engaged. So I'm just trying to do what I can on social media. So I guess that's a nice thing about social media, and instant messenger and all that stuff is, again, I'm still able to connect with people and do stuff. So,
Right.
which is a great segue because, I'm a techie person, but I mean, good Lord, you get on all the other platforms, Snapchat and TikTok and all that. It's like, well, I don't want to go down that road. Instagram and Facebook is plenty for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so at this point, but and kind of leading back to what you're saying too is, you know, it's hard too because companies do need to evolve, and if there are simple tools, I mean, that's something that we all should start adapting as a field staffer. I mean, I know some of us are just so technologically handcuffed.
Right.
Again, like you're saying, if you're still having people that are coming on and saying, yeah, well, Frank sent me over here. I mean, that helps.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, if you're not hearing that or being able to see, that's really on the staffer and not you. So the staffer has to take the responsibility to be seen.
Yep.
And however that is, whether it's, vocally through other people coming into the shop, or, seeing you in passing to say, yep, I saw such and such at such and such event, that type of stuff. Or, you can just go up and pull up Frank and here's all that stuff that he did for the year, and great, either great or not great. So, and that's the thing too. And I know we talk about products and things like that behind the scenes that we can't even talk about yet. So you know what I'm doing or not doing and stuff too. But it's important. I think, and we do bring value. Pro staffers bring huge value, but I know we can be a huge boat anchor to a company as well.
Some guys are more work than it's worth. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Guys and gals, where it's more of a hindrance on my ability to do my job and promote stuff.
And it's not just vapor trail. It's not just vapor trail, because I've talked to reps. I've talked to various companies, and it's like it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It's just and again, you got to ride out situations. There's gonna be some things that's like, well, no, actually they did a good job and this and that. But there's always things that come up throughout the year that you're just like, oh, it's just, is this really worth it or not? And that's where, as a pro staffer, again, normally you're trying to get someone who's very, socially and an interactive person, because you have to be able to speak and present yourself and that, act accordingly. So, and sometimes people, they have that ability, and sometimes, they might have some of it. So just the whole process and all that. And that's over the course of time. And that's where, as a company, you look and you go, yeah, no, well, we'll see what happens here because I see potential. And again, I'm a staff member. Anybody that has any questions, that's a staff member call.
Yeah.
Engage. We're a team, so, but you have to put that on yourself as a staff member. You if you want to be better, then reach out and do it, because you don't want to be a hint. That's one thing I've always wanted, and I've always said to myself, is like, I want to always exceed the expectations of any company that I've ever been affiliated with. I really do. I really strive to do more. I think if you do that, there's never going to be a problem. And I've developed relationships that I've had for 20, 30 years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sad to say that, because it's just like so much time has passed by. Getting grayer, and that's just how it is. But yeah, no, it's just, if you want to do it, I mean, reach out. I mean, I don't want to be all doom and gloom and all that, but again, with social media, I mean, everybody's getting, especially the younger generation, are getting so good with that. But don't go into it like, I'm going to make a ton of money. It's like, you may down the road, but I don't think you should approach any company that you're like, that you don't have any knowledge about it and you've never used it. You should you should have already had it in your hands. You know about the product, and you put yourself out there like, hey, I would be honored to represent your company. That's you are an ambassador of that company, and you're an ambassador of the sport.
Yep. Baby steps. Baby
Yeah.
steps.
Yes. Yeah. Grind it.
And the motivation that it takes to, and the enthusiasm that one may have that gives them the thinking that they can start at the top is great. That will move you to the top very quickly,
Yep.
And so again, just baby steps. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Huge thanks, Frank. I really appreciate all your time, and look forward to having you on again. We've got some more stuff we want to talk about. So don't be a stranger,
Absolutely.
man.
Well, thank you, and I'm just happy to be a part of the team. I always have been. It's nothing that I take lightly. So thank you for giving me the opportunity just to have a voice.
Certainly, man. Certainly, we appreciate you for sure. And if you want to find us, The Range Podcast, you can find us on Instagram and on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at ricky.wayne80 and on Facebook at Ricky W. Bruley. And don't forget to head over to the Vapor Trail YouTube channel. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and also hit that bell so you can be up to date on all things archery. And with that, we are going to pack up our bows and we're hitting the range. Have a good day, everybody. Vapor Trail is now offering an exclusive discount to the Range Podcast listeners. Enter promo code TRP15, that's TRP15, at checkout for 15% off VTX bowstrings and Vapor Trail and Stokerized branded t-shirts, hats, and other gear.